You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, special episode number 2. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today for this special episode of the Chopped Podcast. So what's so special about today's podcast? Well, first of all, it's being published on a day other than Wednesday. That's kind of a big deal, don't you think? It's also special because we have 2 guests. I asked Tessa Arias of the site Handle the Heat and the Food Blog Academy, and Kathryne Taylor of Cookie and Kate to join me today. Having those 2 on the podcast together is enough to make this a very special episode. But there's even more that makes today's show so great. Tessa, Kathryne, and I are talking about something really exciting. It's called the Food Blog Success Summit. The Food Blog Success Summit is kind of like a mastermind session that Tessa, Kathryne, and I are co-leading on Thursday, October 15th, the day before the Chopped Conference. It's like a workshop you've never experienced before because it's an opportunity to learn what it takes to steer your blog to the next level. We'll be choosing 10 bloggers to be on what we're calling the hot seat. Hot seat bloggers get to share a little bit about their blog, like, the things that they really are enjoying and what their goals are and, the things that they hope to do with it in the future. And then our panel, which is Kathryne, Tessa, and I, will creatively brainstorm some things about their site, like what works with it and what things could make it better. When you hear that, does that make you feel so excited? Finally, someone who could give you honest and expert feedback on your site and help you know what next steps you need to take your blog to the next level. I think that sounds exciting to me. Or I can also see where it can make you feel a little bit scared. I mean, feedback like this on this level can make you feel so vulnerable. But you know what? If you're serious about taking your blog to that next level, openness to feedback is so crucial. It's what we all need, to be completely honest. If you'd like a taste of the Food Blog Success Summit, you're in for a surprise today, because today we're doing a demonstration. Tessa reached out to her Food Blog Academy members to ask if anybody would be interested in being a volunteer for our demonstration. Several people jumped at the opportunity because they knew they would learn a lot and being a part of this experience. But we had to choose only one. Our demo blogger today is Olivia with the site Olivia's Cuisine. She's been blogging for around a year and she has a big dream. She wants to spend her time and earn a living doing the things that she's passionate about. She wants to become a full-time food blogger and she wants to be able to be her own boss. Tessa, Kathryne, and I share our thoughts about Olivia's site. I think you'll learn a lot from the feedback we provide Olivia. I definitely learned some great tips from Kathryne and Tessa as they talked about some of the things that they do on their own site every day. We also brainstormed ideas to help Olivia build her brand and step beyond her comfort zones. Sometimes it's that believing in yourself that can be the hardest part about being an entrepreneur. We talk about that as well and the motivational aspects of being a food blogger. If you like today's show, you'll like being there in person even better. Come join us for the Food Blog Success Summit and begin the journey of taking your blog to the next level. Tickets are on sale, so head over to choppedcon.com and click on register to buy your tickets to the Food Blog Success Summit today. So let's go straight to that discussion with Tessa and Kathryne and talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I am so glad to have Kathryne Taylor of the site Cookie and Kate and Tessa Arias of the site Handle the Heat on the Chopped Podcast today. Welcome, Kathryne and Tessa.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, I'm so glad to have you guys both on the show because today is a special episode. We are talking about the Food Blog Success Summit, and that's going to be held on October 15th. It's a Thursday, and it's kind of like a pre-conference to the Chopped conference. And so we're really excited about it because it's really about, I actually kind of envision it as like this big mastermind session where we're all there together. We're going to be, picking 10 blogs and looking at those blogs and talking about some of the things that are going on that's working great for that site and some things that maybe we can suggest changes. And I don't know about you guys, but tell me what you think. When I was, especially when I was first starting blogging, and even today, I love the idea of getting feedback from people. So I think this is a great opportunity to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And I also think, too, that even if you're not getting feedback directly about your own blog, learning from someone else and their experiences and seeing it, someone else's blog get evaluated might even be easier, because then you don't have the pressure of having all the attention on you and all the criticism or evaluation. And so I learn also just as much by seeing other people go through experiences as well as my own experiences.
Yeah, totally. I'd just say kudos to anyone who's brave enough to put their website up there.
Yes, and I love that statement, but I also want to, give a word of encouragement to the people who maybe think they're a little bit afraid about being the one that puts their site up for evaluation. Because, you guys may know this by now, but Sean and I love tennis. We both love to watch it and we love to play it. And we listen to this guy who talks about, how you can get better at tennis. And just today he was talking about how, the only way that you can be a better tennis player is if you are willing to go through the hard work of changing some things. His point was, if you continue the way you are, you can expect to be the same in another year. So the only way you can make changes is to be open to getting some feedback and to making some changes that kind of help you get going in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. I just actually was listening to a podcast interview with Melanie Duncan the other day, and she said that her number one business tip, and she has multiple million-dollar companies, is to always be open and willing to not only receive feedback, but then act upon it. Because anyone who's ever seen success in their business did not follow their business plan to the T all the way through to their success. They're always having to adapt and change and shift and pivot. And if you're able to do that, then you will be successful.
Oh, that's so good. But the point there is to be committed to change and to, following through on those things.
Yes, take action.
Take action. I love it. Okay, so I love it, Tessa, also that you were able to reach out to your Food Blog Academy group and get someone to serve as the example for everybody else to kind of see what this process looks like. Because it's kind of a new thing, don't you think?
Yes, and it's also nerve-wracking, like we were saying, to be put in the spotlight on the hot seat like this. But I had multiple Food Blog Academy members who jumped at the opportunity. I think people truly understand the value in getting honest and direct feedback. And so today we have Olivia from Olivia's Cuisine, who has volunteered her blog to be evaluated. And I think it's going to be an amazing learning lesson for her and for everyone who's listening.
Yeah. Yay, Olivia. Thank you so much for being our, blog of choice for today. I don't want to say guinea pig. That sounds kind of bad, doesn't it? So can you tell us a little bit about Olivia? And, I think it helps before we get into this, looking at her website a little more closely. If you could, Tessa, tell us a little bit about Olivia, her background, and maybe her hopes and dreams for her blog.
Yes, absolutely. So Olivia has been a member of Food Blog Academy for quite a while now. She is really taking blogging seriously, and she's committed to improving. And her main goals with blogging, she hasn't been blogging for very long. I think it's about a year, maybe even less than a year. Her main goals with blogging are to make more money, to be able to make a full-time living blogging, because she'd be able to do what she loves and spend time with her family and doing things that she wants to do, like traveling, and she'd be able to be her own boss. And what I really love about Olivia and her story is that she actually is originally from Brazil and now lives in New York with her husband, and eventually she'd like to start a family and to be able to spend time with her family also while making a living doing something that she's actually passionate about and doesn't feel like work.
That's great. That's a great background, and it sounds like she's just at a perfect point in this because she's brand new with her blog. So, it's a great opportunity for her to build a platform that can take her, years down the road.
Yes, and I think getting feedback like we are going to give her today will accelerate her growth and success by probably over a year. This kind of information, if you actually take it to heart and put it into action, like we were saying, it's invaluable, but it can also really make things happen so much faster.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks. So just so you all know, Tessa was so generous as to provide us with, she has a Food Blog Academy blog critique sheet. So we're going to go through this item by item. All three of us will be talking about different areas on each of these, there's 4 quadrants. And then at the end, we'll have some recommendations and an action plan for Olivia. And you can go to the ChoppedCon page where we have the show notes page, and there'll be some tidbits there as well. So if you can't catch everything as we're talking and you're kind of curious about some of the things that we said.
Yes, and also one more thing I'd like to mention, if anyone's listening to this and they're at their computer or they have their phone handy, definitely pull up her site so you can actually see, as we discuss things, what we're actually looking at.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so without further ado, let's go on to functionality. Underneath that category, we have things like navigation, the sidebar, those kinds of, the more functional parts of a site. Do either of you have any feedback on this one?
Kathryne, I'd be interested to hear what you think. I think you offer a different perspective.
Let's see. I mean, I like this website. I don't feel like there's a lot of things that are instantly standing out to me as things that need to be fixed or changed. I think the header's clear. I love that she has a big slogan right underneath. I think the little icons with her different options are cute. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I love the icons for navigation. I'm so visual, and so that just really pulls me in.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
I agree. I asked, my husband, Sean, is a website developer. And so I thought it might be good to have a little bit of, his opinion on that. And the only thing that, he thought the site speed was great. Navigation was fine. The only thing he pointed to is that there were a lot of several ads on the page, and 2 of the ads were flash. And that was just, I don't even know if that's necessarily navigational oriented, but he thought it was just something worth pointing out that a lot of browsers have trouble with Flash.
It's really interesting you say that, actually, because I had it pulled up as we were going through the intro, and my Flash plugin actually crashed, and I had to reload the site.
Yes.
And I'm on Chrome right now, so it's usually a browser that can handle things pretty well. So that might be something. Olivia, if you have an ad manager or you know what your ad companies are, you might want to look into limiting the amount of Flash ads that are available on your site.
There you go. Good feedback. So now we'll move on to design and personality. I like this one. This is really more like the feel of the site.
Yes, and actually, I wanted to point out one last thing about the navigation. Olivia, you have blogging as a category in your navigation bar, and when I click on it, there's only, I think, 3 posts under the blogging category. And unless you know for sure through research or through surveys of your readership that you have a lot of bloggers who are active readers, I would consider instead putting something that might be really helpful to people who are only interested in the cooking part. So I'm sure you have tons of recipes or guides or resources. You could put maybe your favorite Brazilian recipe since you're from Brazil, or your favorite cooking tools, or something that would be more useful to your readers.
That's a great idea. Like I could even see something like, cooking techniques or things like that. Or
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's move on to design and personality. So we'll start with you, Tessa. Did you have any feedback on the design and the personality of the site?
Well, I love pink, so it definitely appeals to me. There's a lot of pink on the site. I think it all is very cohesive. It's a nice feminine style, but it's not overly girly or childish. I think it's still pretty chic and simple, and there's not a lot of clutter or anything that gets in the way of me kind of just enjoying my experience on the site. So awesome job there.
How about you, Kathryne?
Yeah, I agree. I love the fonts that she's using and how easily read they are. One of my pet peeves is when I go to a food blog and the text is too small or too faint for me to easily read it. So I think she's doing a great job there. I agree. I think it's feminine and cute and has some nice style. It's a little busy. I don't know that it's more busy than most food blogs or that it needs to change, but it's with the hello bar at the top and the social icons on the left, and then like the badges on the right, it's a little much for me personally.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because that's what Sean pointed out too, is that basically 2/3 of above the fold is is not content on the site. It's the hello bar at the top, and then the ad, and then there's the header, and then there's the nav bar. And so it's like you don't really actually get to see any of the content above the fold. And that's just something, it's all about someone's preferences. If this is the goal that she's after, that's great. But it's just something, like this is a critique. So it's kind of information a person could take in and choose to use or not.
Yeah, definitely. I actually made a note of that. I mentioned that there were, what I saw when I loaded the site the first time, there were social share buttons underneath the recipe post title, the social share buttons on the side that are just sticky. Then she has her social icons linking to her profiles, and then there's also the hello bar at the top with the Pinterest. Yeah. And so I recommended to her in my notes that if she has one specific platform that she's really trying to grow, like Pinterest, then maybe she should take away some things that don't fall in line with that goal for now and just allow their readers to focus on that so they're not overwhelmed or distracted and end up clicking on nothing. If she could kind of hold their hand a little bit and direct her to follow me on Pinterest, then maybe it would be more effective.
Great feedback. And that actually leads me to my question on that is, I haven't seen a header, like that hello bar at the top that the call to action is for following somebody on a social media platform. Usually I've seen that as, join my email newsletter list. And I'm just curious, what your feedback is on that. Is it good to have somebody, to call out your Pinterest account like that?
I think if you're trying to grow your Pinterest account and you know that there's lots of great pins on there, I don't see why not to promote that. I don't know. What do you think, Tessa?
I always am an advocate for email lists because it's something that you own as opposed to Pinterest. And we know we've all experienced the changes in Pinterest within the last year or so with their algorithm and smart feed and all of that. But if that's her focus currently, then that's awesome. However, I would suggest to her to change her call to action there. So in the hello bar, she has her Pinterest. It says, "Don't miss our awesome pins." That's kind of a vague call to action. It doesn't really grab my attention. Now, if she were to have said something particular to food or recipes, like don't miss all of our easy recipes on Pinterest or all of our exotic recipes or all the mouth-watering food or something like that, it would, because obviously people are visiting her site because they're interested in the recipes. So if that was kind of more consistent there, I might be more likely to click on it.
That is a great point, Tessa, because just you saying that alone made me want to click on it.
Yeah, I agree. I will say I just clicked over to her Pinterest account to check it out, and she has lots of cool boards. But when I clicked on the actual pins that she's been posting lately, they're almost all linking to her latest posts.
Like repetitive?
So I don't know how motivating that is for people to follow her if they click on the pins that she's been posting recently and just see like 10 pins of the same thing in a row for each recipe.
Yeah, and actually that might get caught in Pinterest spam. So pinning the same thing, same exact thing over and over again, even if it's like an hour apart. I've had some blogger friends who have gotten their accounts marked as spam because of that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, that's not a good habit to have. I mean, I pin over 50% of my own content because that's my Pinterest method in theory, but I spread it out over different pieces of content, so it's not the same thing over and over again, and that really has worked for me.
Do you have a tool that helps you do that, Tessa?
Yes, I use Viral Tag to schedule all of my pins, and I actually have my intern working on that now. She's going through old posts and optimizing them for Pinterest, like adding alt descriptions because all my old stuff doesn't have it, or creating collages out of the horizontal images I used to take back in the day.
Back when horizontal was so cool.
Yeah, I use Viral Tag too, and I love it because it lets when I publish a new post, and I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but I'll schedule it out so one photo goes to my cookie and cake board, and then the next day another photo goes to a different board. And so it's just like one pin a day for the new post until it all kind of schedules out. And I have other stuff that I pin in between.
Does Viral Tag give you that option? Like I'm on Tailwind, and it actually gives you that option when I have a new post. I can schedule it out one day at a time.
Yeah, it does. It's just by minutes. So I know that
I see.
I have it memorized that 1,440 minutes means one day.
Yeah, I actually have a post-it of the days translated to minutes on my desk.
Yeah.
If Olivia has other questions, like there are others, there's a Hology Tailwind buffer that, lets you schedule out pins. So those are some options that a lot of bloggers will use to schedule their pins out so that you can kind of spread them out a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I just go in like every 2 weeks and schedule a ton of stuff out, and then I add in new posts as they come.
Yes, that's exactly what I do as well. And something else I like to do is schedule my own content really fiercely, and then every day I'll pop over to Pinterest and just live pin. And I feel like I'm kind of connected with what's going on Pinterest and what other bloggers are doing or posting or what's been popular lately with my audience. And so it's not so detached from just scheduling every once in a while, if that makes sense.
No, I really like that idea. I honestly get frustrated when I visit my Pinterest homepage these days because so little of it actually appeals to me and feels relevant to what I pin and what I like.
I know. You know what I've been doing lately is I just go directly to my favorite group boards that I'm a part of that are owned by bloggers that I'm actually friends with, and I'll just go through there and I'll repin everything on my favorite group boards. So it's kind of supporting the boards and the bloggers that are a part of it.
That's smart. I actually, I have like a bookmarks folder of my favorite pinners. And so I'll open that up and go to their recent pins and go from there.
That's awesome. You know what I love about Viral Tag too is that you can actually schedule repins. So you can just load a page of pins on Pinterest, like your home page or your favorite board, and click the Viral Tag bookmarklet button, and you can just directly repin everything on that page that you like. So you're not having to click on anything individually.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what makes Pinterest easy for me. I love it.
Yes, me too.
See, having these kind of tricks and the tools, I think that really makes a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I can't even remember how much I pay for Viral Tag. It's not that much money, but it easily pays for itself and the traffic that I get.
Yeah, I think it's like $28 a month or something.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe a somewhat large commitment for someone who's just starting out, but definitely worth it.
And if that feels like it's too much for her right now, she could consider something like Tailwind, which I believe is more like between $5 to $10 a month. It's a great way of getting started, and then she could work her way up to Viral Tag or something, some other resource. But Tailwind is a great one to get started with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, great. I think this was some great feedback. So I'm excited. Okay, so are we ready to move on, or do you have anything else you guys want to talk about with design? I think we all agree that we like the personality of her site.
Yes, and I had one last thing. She has, first of all, Olivia is absolutely gorgeous. She has some really cute photos with her husband. She has one on her homepage and then a few on her about page. And I just thought investing in some professional headshots, if she doesn't already have some, would be huge, because then we would see her pretty smiling face as soon as someone arrived on her page. And since it is Olivia's cuisine, I would want to see a picture of her kind of front and center, since she's such a big part of her own brand.
Oh, that's very good advice. I was just trying to click on the About Me page, and it's there it is. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, those photos could be definitely, if she had some more professional photos, that would be nice. But it is very personal. I like how she. I always struggle with that myself. It's like I want to talk about the professional side of me, and I have a hard time always, sometimes going into the personal. And she does a really good job with that, I think.
Yeah, she does. I feel like I'm talking to a friend when I read a lot of her stuff.
Yeah, I agree. She just seems like a really sweet person and seems very likable. Back to the design thing, I will say, I just noticed when I hovered over her picture in the About section in her sidebar, it wants to open up like a complete profile on gravatar.com, which just isn't very informative or helpful. So if I were her, I would try to shut that off.
Yes, agreed.
I think that's the problem I had. I was trying to click on About Me, and it got kind of hung up with that. So
it's probably one of those things that loads the site, makes it load fast or slower as well.
Probably.
So content is next on the sheet. And in this category, we're talking about the photos and the writing, recipes, and things like that. So any feedback? Let's start with you, Kathryne. Do you have any feedback on the content?
Well, I mean, I read her About page, and I just felt like I kind of knew her. So I think she's doing a great job with that. And I felt like she definitely has a great voice that shines through in her posts. I also think her photos are really nice. And if she's only been doing this a year, then I am very impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no one should see my photos from a year ago.
I know.
If only they look like Olivia's. She's got beautiful photos.
Yes, I'm jealous of her table. That I don't know what that tabletop is, but that's really nice.
I like that too.
Oh,
And it looks like a diversity of recipes. I think you're right, Tessa, that since she's from Brazil, it's got, a nice flair to the recipes that she's picking to write about.
yeah, she has kind of a worldly perspective, or at least that's what she showcases.
Yeah, exactly. So we like her writing. We like her photos. We did take a minute to look. It looks like she's using the easy recipe. What do we call that? The rich recipe
plugin.
snippet. Yes, plugin. Yes, easy recipe plugin.
Yeah, they're all formatted nicely. And also having, Kathryne and I have some experience in publishing and writing cookbooks. I read a few of her recipes and they're written really well. The ingredients are written in the order that they're used, and I was able to follow the recipe really well. So kudos to her for that as well.
Yeah, that's a big plus. And frankly necessary these days, I think. Let's see. There's something I don't love the swoop little ad popping up within her content. I find it a little distracting.
Can you give me an example of where that's at?
I think it showed up on the home page. I think if you go to the home page and you start reading the first post, you'll see that kind of inserted sort of randomly.
I'm not getting that.
Oh, where'd it go? I don't know. I've seen it just like right after the first sentence or something, and it doesn't.
Oh, I see.
There it is.
There it is. See a creamy sausage risotto recipe.
Yeah.
And it's linked to an ad, right?
Right. I find that a little distracting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, those ads now are becoming almost predatory in that you don't even realize it's an ad. And so someone might click on that thinking they're remaining on her website and become upset when they're taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some controversy, I think, within the food blogging community about those kinds of ads. And, some people are all for them and some people find them distracting. I'm kind of in the boat of finding them distracting and like they take away from your content.
And I think there's other ways to do it as well. I don't have Swoop, but I think you can also make it appear as an ingredient advertisement within your recipe. I'm not sure if that's right, but I think there might be some better ways to go about it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I've seen that on a lot of other websites, and to me that isn't nearly as distracting as having it just sort of randomly after the first sentence.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you're pulling people in, and so you don't want to push them away with an ad.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of personally frustrated with the way ads are going now and just how they're getting so much more intrusive. And I get it, everyone wants to make more money and the value per ad is going down, so it's kind of just like a bad situation.
And I also think too, though, that we might have some like biased, feelings towards ads, whereas readers may not think, more than 2 seconds about it. But if anything, it's more motivation to start creating other income streams, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about her call to action, because that's one of the categories here that we're looking at. And I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are on this, whether or not your post, I've heard a lot of people say that your post should end with a call to action. I'm just curious if you have any feedback. I don't see anything like that on hers, except for on the giveaway. And I'm curious if you think that's a good thing to do or not.
I think it's a great idea. I don't think it would hurt anything, that's for sure, as long as it seems, genuine and not sort of cheap or too much. I love this post. I think it's awesome and informative, and I can't wait to read it.
She has something right before the recipe that says, what do you think? Have I inspired you to dust off the apron and get your hands dirty? I hope so.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah,
that's
I like
really
that.
good.
But it might be hidden if you guys missed it. Maybe that could be bolded and people would kind of know to expect it. Her readers who come back again and again, that there's something at the bottom that they want to engage with.
Yeah, I think it's a little lost where it is right there.
Mm-hmm. I see it now too.
Maybe even just at the end of the last sort of paragraph section.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is she could also call, if she's really, focused on growing her Pinterest following, she could also, embed something in the post like, do you love Italian food? Come check out all the Italian recipes I pin on this board, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That is a great idea. I love that, because that's, that really will help, I think, grow her Pinterest following greater than probably even that header.
Mm-hmm. Probably. I know that for me, even, I mean, since I can track this, I know from like my Amazon affiliate links that most of people are clicking over just from tasteful little, embedded links in the content itself rather than like banners or sidebar things or whatever.
Yeah, it's more organic. It seems more natural.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. And she looks like she's got, good engagement. She's got several comments and she's responding to those comments. I think her engagement looks good. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Responding is huge. I have had some readers who have emailed me and said, I started following your blog because I saw that you responded to questions in the comments.
That's nice. Yeah, I think it's really important to show that you're responsive and interested and that you care about the outcomes. I think that says a lot.
Yes, I agree. So, let's move on to optimization. And in this category, we have things like SEO, an email list, social sharing, and social media following and monetization. So let's start with SEO. What do you guys think about SEO with Olivia's Cuisine?
I think she's on the right track using a recipe plugin for sure.
Yes.
I noticed, this is a weird thing that I noticed, but many of her recipes she has in several categories, and then a lot of them are also in the uncategorized category. And I don't know if maybe that's just an automatic and she hasn't realized that's been happening, but I would think Google would see that and maybe view your content as unorganized or untrustworthy in some way. So she might want to just get rid of the uncategorized category altogether.
Yeah, that may be her default in her WordPress settings, is to categorize it as uncategorized.
That may not be the default of choice.
Yeah, I mean, her URL structure is good, and it looks like her page titles default correctly. So I think she's got a good foundation here.
Sean was able to do a little digging, and it looks like she's using the Yoast plugin for SEO, so that probably helps. I think that's a good one to use.
Yeah, that's awesome. And she's using the Foodie Pro theme, which I know has a lot of really great features right out of the box. So I'm assuming this is like a mobile responsive site.
Yeah, we checked that.
Yeah, it is. So she's doing a lot of things right, just based on the platforms that she's chosen.
There was one thing I noticed with her, there are two things with her images. One was that her images, titles, and alt texts are all the same. And so that might be an opportunity for her to throw in some different keywords or to use different wording. Like if I'm posting a recipe on buttercream, I usually try to throw in like icing or frosting somewhere in there. So if someone's using that search term instead, it might still populate. And then the other thing I noticed is I actually saved one of her images, and it was about 700 kilobytes. Is that the right
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So it was a little large. Mine are about 200, and that's for my largest like collage style image for Pinterest. I suggest she save for web if she has that feature in whatever photo editor she's using, and to use a plugin that compresses her images as well.
Yeah, I just opened up one of the image files in a new window, and it looks like the image is just way bigger than it needs to be. So not only is the resolution higher than 72 pixels per inch, but it's also like 1,360 pixels wide, which is a lot bigger than it's actually displaying on her site. It's shrinking the images down once it's displayed, but it's still loading the whole file, so that's going to slow down her page load.
And that might also make her images look less sharp as well if WordPress is having to automatically resize them.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of problematic as a whole. So,
well, and also there are several photos per post. So if you have those two combined, it's going to mess with her site speed, I would think, as well.
Yeah, they certainly add up. I just tell Olivia that her photos only need to be 680 pixels wide for her theme.
And if she's using a photo editor to find whatever like web save function there is to compress any unnecessary information in the actual file, so it loads faster as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. That's great. Great feedback. What about her email list? I noticed that she's got a section in there, subscribe to Olivia's Cuisine email update.
Yeah, it doesn't really grab your attention.
No.
And actually, I missed it the first time.
I did too. I had to look for it.
Yeah, it is like sort of in a logical position, but might just need like a border or something.
Yeah, I need some formatting. Maybe a pop of color, something that varies from the pink so it stands out. Yeah. If she were to do an email opt-in too, like give away something for free for new subscribers, I think her email signups would soar because it would make that so much more enticing. And she could do something that's more representative of who she is and what her blog is about. Because overall, as a broad stroke, I feel like unless I read her entire about page, I might be a little like confused or not really know where her perspective is, because her tagline is "The kitchen is my stage." And that makes sense to me because I know she has a background in acting, but most people won't know that when they visit her site for the first time. Mm-hmm. And so maybe she has something, or know that she's from Brazil originally. And so those are things that I find really fascinating about her, but it's not really clearly displayed in her homepage.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think those are the most interesting things about her, and they aren't included in her little summary in the sidebar.
Or the tagline either. And I think that could be a really powerful place for her to like just instantly connect with her readers.
Yeah.
I love that. In fact, I think she should go with that whole Brazilian, background and play that up more. And in fact, you're talking about her opt-in, she could just pick 4 or 5 recipes that are already on her site and maybe that are from Brazil and say, download my free recipes from Brazil or, something like that.
Yeah, like a quick guide to Brazilian cooking or something like that.
Oh, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah, I would totally download that because some, exotic or ethnic foods totally intimidate me if I have never been to that country or if I don't have any friends or family who can like show me what an authentic dish is. And so having someone who really is an expert on it, I would totally download that.
Yeah, and I want to know like how it fit into her family meals and who made it and the background that she can provide that I just wouldn't know.
Yeah, and she has such a different experience having grown up in, a different country altogether, but one that has such an interesting cuisine, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in some ways she comes across like she's trying to position herself as with international cuisine, when in reality, she's just like sitting on this wealth of, I really find this interesting that she is from Brazil and she has, like you said, did she learn to cook from her mother? And, she could just really go with that quite a bit. I would be thrilled with that.
I feel like a lot of bloggers have that. They're sitting on this gold mine, but it's almost like they're resistant to highlight that part of themselves for whatever personal reason that they have. Maybe it comes from an insecurity or, some inner rebellion or something, who knows. But that was like one of my first notes when I first visited her website was like, I'd love to see that more embedded into everything you do, because not only is it more interesting, but it would make her stand out and her blog stand out. And it would create a loyal readership. People would want to subscribe just because of where she, the unique perspective she offers.
Yeah, I almost wonder if a lot of them aren't doing it just because they don't see other people doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting idea. I never thought of that.
Like they're trying to make their food blog like general food blogs instead of working their own angle, maybe, or their background. I don't know.
I think that's such a good point, Kathryne, because sometimes I find myself doing that. Like I kind of find myself playing in the sandbox and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like everything I'm doing is like everything else that's out there. And I want to break away from that. It's not always easy.
Yeah. No, it's not. I think most people do that also when they're starting out because it's scary to do something different.
Yes.
And every time I've ever talked to another blogger who has gotten more specific or more niche or has really developed a strong brand, they always have some huge success after. And if you think about like all the Food Network stars, and I know obviously not everyone wants to be on TV, or even cookbook authors, they always have a really distinct point of view. And if you don't have that as a blog or as a blogger, there's a lot of limitations that you're putting on yourself for other opportunities, even though it might seem the opposite.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I'm just overwhelmed by the sheer number of food blogs that pop up every year, and I can't keep up with them. And if there's not something distinctive about it, I just don't hang around.
That's great advice because, if that's your goal, we know that Olivia wants to make this a living for herself. And so this might be kind of an area she wants to spend a little bit of time thinking about, what do I want to see? And those are the things that I think will help her be a little bit more distinguished in the field. Yes.
And I think that even if you don't have big, lofty goals for your blog, if you think ultimately, like in a dream world, what would you like to come of it? And especially because we all know ads are becoming less and less reliable as an income. Think about like if I had a Food Network show, if I had a cookbook, if I got a column in a magazine, if I came out with my own product, what would be the theme? Like what would it be about? And can I make that what my whole blog is about? Is it sustainable? And is it something I'm passionate about? And if it is, then you have a gold mine.
The thing I love about those questions, Tessa, is that you had said earlier on that Olivia has a goal. One of her goals is to be her own boss. And those are the kinds of questions that you have to ask when you're the boss.
Strategy.
Yes.
I think a lot of bloggers they fall into a rut doing just day-to-day stuff, and then they get distracted with, ooh, shiny, viral tag even. But if it's not part of a larger strategy, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so we talked about email list. What about social sharing? She clearly has a lot of opportunities for people to share her content.
Yeah, it might be a little overwhelming. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I see what she's doing, and I know that I've heard that each of these tools can, encourage people to share, but I do think it's a bit much.
Yeah, so she has the share buttons underneath her post title. She has the sticky share on the side that remains with you. And then she also has a share button at the bottom of the post as well, I think. I would actually wonder how this is affecting her site load time as well, because some of these apps like significantly slow down your site speed too.
Yeah, I mean, if she wants to keep the one on the left side of the page, I think that was probably sufficient. She probably doesn't need the icons both at the top of the post and at the bottom.
Yeah, especially since that one is sticky, so it stays with you.
Yeah.
I like that point too. And I also just feel like it makes the content stand out a little bit more without having all that distraction.
Yes, it gives her more room for maybe a specific call to action like that Pinterest, follow me on Pinterest. And I think the other thing that with the share buttons too is it might just be the post that I'm looking at since it was just posted a couple days ago, but it only has a handful of shares in each platform. Like Pinterest has 14 pins. It might just not even be worth it to include the number unless you do have like the really impressive numbers that established bloggers have. Otherwise, it might, it has that like subconscious negative effect on readers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, unless she's using some fancy caching, I think that it's calling to Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest for the numbers each time the pages load, so that's definitely slowing things down.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then one thing that Olivia could do with this, if I can understand, maybe she feels like she's gotten a certain amount of traffic from that, and I can see where it can raise some concerns on her part. Should I get rid of this? She could try just taking it off for a month and just see, just keep the sticky bar on the left, and just for a month try that and see how that goes, if it has an impact on her traffic or not. And we're not saying, do this permanently. It's just suggestions.
Yeah, and I'm sure that whatever plugin she's using has some sort of statistics, some sort of analytics that she can look up and track that.
Yeah, those would be really helpful. I test things out like that all the time. Like I'll go into Google Analytics and make a little an annotation anytime I make a change so I can remember the date. And then if I need to remember to look into it again later, I just make a notification in my calendar.
I'm so jealous, Kathryne. I'd like to be able to use Google Analytics to that level.
Oh, it's easy. If you just go into Google Analytics, there's like a little arrow button underneath any chart you look at, and then you just hit a plus sign and you can type in whatever you want.
Cool.
Yes, I actually did that when I started to offer a little freebie e-cookbook download for my email list, and I was able to track how my emails performed, and my new subscribers grew by 300%.
Oh, that's awesome.
Following. So I knew that was working, and it's so valuable to have solid factual information like that.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try that out, so that's exciting to hear.
That is great. I love it. Okay, so the last category, or not, it's like a subcategory, is monetization. And we know that's a goal of Olivia's, so I felt like we should spend at least a couple of minutes talking about that. It seems to me her primary goal with monetization is ads. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, and then she also has a few sponsored posts that I saw.
So sponsored posts and ads. Do we have any feedback for her on how that can grow for her?
Well, unfortunately, the selected methods of monetization are highly, highly related to her traffic. And so if she is continuing to focus on ads and even sponsored posts, she's going to also need to focus on growing her traffic and making sure that people come to her site, stay on her site, visit multiple pages, and subscribe and engage with her content.
Yeah. I just thought, we were talking about her encouraging people to subscribe by email with a Brazilian ebook or something along those lines. She could also make an ebook and charge $5 to $10 for it that's all about Brazilian food or something along those lines.
Yes, definitely. I love that she does. I mean, her introduction to herself on her sidebar says easy, sometimes exotic recipes. So if there was also maybe like a time crunch or an ingredient crunch on the Brazilian recipes, like 10 ingredient recipes or 30-minute recipes, but also had that Brazilian twist, I think it would be huge. And she could even sell it on Amazon with great success.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I don't know if she's experimented at all with Amazon affiliate links, but maybe there are some Brazilian ingredients you can buy on Amazon or special tools or something that she could link to.
Yes, and that would actually be a great thing to substitute out with her blogging category in her navigation.
Yeah.
If it was like a resource guide to Brazilian food and it was filled with affiliate links, I'd imagine it'd be a pretty profitable page.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And she would be the go-to resource for Brazilian recipes. How cool would that
be? Yes.
That'd be awesome. And I don't know any Brazilian bloggers.
I don't either. We do now. We know Olivia.
Yeah. I also don't know any Brazilian Food Network chefs or celebrity chefs. So if she had, I'm just imagining her on TV because she was an actress and she has these big goals. And so I think it could be amazing.
Oh, yeah. It would be fun to see her on video.
Yes, definitely. I'd love to see her have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That is a great idea. And you mentioned, Tessa, that she has a background in marketing. Is that right?
Yes, I believe she has a degree in marketing.
So that's good. I mean, it seems like these are great ideas that take you down that marketing road. It'd be cool to see her do some of these ideas.
Yeah, she has a degree in marketing and advertising. On her About page, she mentions it. So kind of taking what she's learned and applying it to this online blogging world, it might not seem natural or, I doubt that they talked about blogging in her university classes or whatever, but I think she definitely has the skills and she has some great content already. And then she has this awesome perspective. If she just took some big leaps and stayed consistent and took action, I could see really big things for her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that kind of brings us to the conclusion of the critique of Olivia's cuisine. Do you guys have anything else to add at the end here?
If I could talk about one little nitpicky SEO thing that I noticed.
Okay.
Her page title for her homepage is her slogan. So it's Olivia's Cuisines - the kitchen is my stage. But no one's searching for a phrase like the kitchen is my stage. They're searching for like Brazilian food. And so on. So she could be more descriptive in that brief page title. And then I also noticed that she's not really entering in a descriptive meta description for each post. It's just the name of the post itself, which is just duplicative and not helpful for showing up in search results. So I would encourage her to learn a little bit more about page titles and descriptions and how to tweak those.
Because those are two big things that could really make a difference for her.
For sure, yeah.
Excellent. This has been a wonderful session. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share this with Olivia so she can, take her blog to the next level. Yeah,
I mean, I can only imagine what she can do. And if she's able to really take everything that we've said and all the things that she's probably experienced and probably instinctually thought of at least, maybe in, 6 months or a year, we can check in with her and see if she's able to make any big changes.
That's great. And we encourage everybody to consider, either coming or being, one of the participants in our Food Blog Success Summit, because then you can have the opportunity to go through these kinds of sites with us as well.
Yes, and get feedback from people who get it, but have a different perspective and can kind of look at things in a way that you may have never considered before because you're just looking at it all the time, every day, 24 hours a day. It's nice to kind of pull back and get a well-rounded point of view.
I love it. Kathryne and Tessa, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great time talking with you.
Thank you so much, Marley. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you, and good luck to Olivia.
Yes.
Thanks to Tessa Arias and Kathryne Taylor for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. If you were out running around and couldn't write down something important, don't worry, we took the notes for you. Just head on over to choppedcon.com where I put up links for each show, including the stuff we talked about today and more information about our guests. I hope you're loving the Chop podcast. If so, it would mean the world to me if you'd head over to iTunes or Stitcher and give it a review. You can do that right now. Also, you can spread the word about the Chop podcast using @ChoppedCon on Twitter or Instagram, or even Facebook. Your shout-outs really mean a lot. You know, you inspire me, so I hope today's show is helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great week.